sure seem like we living on the bottom. Thank you. Thanks be unto God who gives unto us his inexpressible gift, the gift of our Lord and Savior Jesus, who is the Christ, the Son of the living God. To all of you, my brothers and my sisters in Christ Jesus, if you will meet me back in Mark chapter 5. Today we want to look at just 2 verses as we deal with part 2 of the sermon series in which we started on last week. Mark chapter 5, verses 27 and 28. If you have the King James Version, you will find these holy, divine, and inspired words. Verse 27 reads, when she had heard of Jesus. I almost can't, I better move. When she had heard of Jesus, came in the press and touched his garment. This lady had some self-talk in her, for she said, she didn't say it out loud, she said to herself, if I may but touch his clothes, not I might be, not there is a possibility, not there is a favorable chance. She said, if I can touch his clothes, I know I shall be made whole. The word of God. On last week, my brothers and my sisters in Christ Jesus, right there, but don't move, don't move, don't just stay right. Stay in the, what do you call it, Sean? Stay in the something, stay in the pocket. Last week in part 1, we looked at this woman's disease, and we looked at 3 things concerning the disease. Last week, Hopkins, we looked at her ailment, and boy, what an ailment that this lady had. The text said that she had an issue of blood, so she had a blood hemorrhage. She had a flow of blood. She was bleeding profusely from some part of her body, and the text tells us she had not been bleeding for 12 seconds. It didn't say she had been bleeding for 12 minutes. It didn't say she had been bleeding for 12 hours. It didn't tell us that she'd been bleeding for 12 days. It didn't tell us she's been bleeding for 12 weeks. It didn't tell us that she's been bleeding for 12 months. The text said she had an issue of blood for 12 long years. This lady had been hemorrhaging for 4,380 days. That's an ailment. And the text not only told us about an ailment, we looked at her agonies, and then we looked at her anguish, because the text said she didn't get better, she actually rather got worse. So today we want to look at this woman's desire. Last week we looked at the disease. This week we want to look at her desire. The word desire means, if you will, according to the dictionary, to wish or long for. Desire means to crave. It means to want. Synonyms for desire include covet. And you remember that because David, he desired Bathsheba, and his desire led him to covet what belonged to somebody else. Desire, another synonym is fancy or solicit, aspiration, hunger, appetite, and longing. That's what it means, Andrew, to desire. Desire is a strong feeling, Murphy, that's worthy or unworthy, that impels to the attainment or possession of something that is either in reality or imagination that is within reach. In other words, desire is not something that you can get from a weekend workshop. You can't get it. You cannot do that. No, no. It's not brought about because of association. That's not it. You can post this, but just because you post this does not mean somebody is going to possess this. We're talking about desire. This is something that you cannot email to someone else. You can't text me desire. You may be able to text the word, but you can't text me or you can't tweet me so that I can receive this desire. You cannot shout it out, nor can you sing it in. Desire. No. This is something that you must possess on the inside. Yeah, this cannot be, desire cannot be faked, or it cannot be manufactured. You cannot depend on a pep rally or cheerleaders to give you desire. This is what the folk of old used to call intestinal fortitude. In other words, you got to have some get up and go muster on the inside of yourself. I don't care if it's in sports. I don't care if it's in business. I don't care if it's in school. I don't care if it's in pastoring or whatever it is. Listen here. You can have the best training. You can have the best trainers. You can have the best techniques. But if you don't have desire on the inside, that trainer can't do nothing for you, because they can tell you about X's and O's, but they can't tell you about a fire burning on the inside. You either got that, baby, or you don't have it. You hanging around somebody talking about, I'm going to hang around them and try to get him desire. You better leave him now. That ain't nothing you can give. You either got it or you don't have it. See, if you don't have desire, that little wish you have will soon be a short fuse, and it's going to never flicker away. Your desire actually has to outweigh the difficulties and the deficiencies that you have. Your desires, they must outweigh the danger that may be opposed to you by that thing which you are desiring. Your desire, it has to outweigh and shine through the darkness, because right now it may be total darkness in your life, but if you got enough desire, you can get a flicker of light. And wherever there's the faintest of darkness, if you got the faintest of a flicker of light, darkness has to move. So your desire has to shine through the darkness. Your desire has to rise above despair. Your desire, it has to be stronger than the despisers. Your desire, it has to be stronger than the destruction. Your desire has to be stronger than the detestables. Your desire, it's got to be stronger than the division. It's got to be stronger than the drought. It's got to be stronger than the doubt. It's got to be stronger than the displeasure. You got to have a desire. Come hell or high water, I'm going to desire this, and I ain't gonna stop till I attain this. You can't have desire and the minute somebody look at you, you quit and give up. You got to have some grunt. You got to have some in you. On today, Kenneth, we're gonna look at the intestinal fortitude of this woman. And Mike Tower and I talk about this all the time. It seems like today's kids and youth and people in general seem like you just look at them, they fold up like an aluminum chair at a church picnic. I mean, no fight, no grit. You tell us to go sit down, we go sit down. Nobody want to fight for nothing. Nobody want to, he filed me. Shut up. I mean, it just seemed like we just like, where is the desire to exceed? Rather than accepting the first no. Coach tell you ain't good enough, that means you need to practice harder. Don't tell me about you tripping, because I done seen some folk play, and some parents need to be happy your child on the team. But they can't coach. No, I got news for you. Your kid can't play. And that's just the truth. But where's the desire to get better? Okay, I'll work on this. No, we got to fire the coach. It ain't the coach's fault that your son or daughter ain't got no desire. We should look at this lady. Remember now, this woman Agnes. This woman suffered physically. Remember, she'd been hemorrhaging 4,380 days. In other words, this woman is weak. This woman, Jim, she pale. Yeah. She remember back then they didn't have them energy drinks. Wasn't no Boost 5 hour hook me up. No, wasn't no Red Bull. She suffered physically. Then the text said she suffered medically. Because it said she suffered many things at the hand of the physician. So not only, Nicole Marshall, were the physicians not helping her, according to the text, they were hurting her. Because it says she suffered many things, is right there, at the hand of the physicians. Then she suffered socially. Imagine never being able to see a sunset because you don't have no business in public. Imagine you can't go down to the Sea of Galilee. You can't go down to the Sea of Tiberias and look at God's great sunshine bouncing off the sea because you're not supposed to be in public because you are unclean. Imagine teenagers not being able to go to the mall because you're unclean. She suffered emotionally. See, physical suffering and emotional suffering is different. They're both suffering. But see, you can cover up physical suffering. You can mask it. You can put, if I'm in an abusive relationship, I can put on more makeup or I can put on sunglasses in church. And please, woman, don't do that because everybody know you've been hit. Because why else would you? You need to seek help to get out of that relationship. And it's not a joke, but you need to seek help to get out of that. We know people who can get you out of that relationship and put them somewhere where they won't be hitting another. Yeah. So we know that's serious. But the emotional scar, see, that's the stuff that is just with me all the time. I can't fake that because it comes through who I am. I can put on a smile, but my heart is broken. I can't put nothing over that. So this lady was going through emotional pain. She was suffering religiously. Imagine not being able to fellowship with anybody. Now, I know there may be certain folk you don't like, but you do like somebody. This woman couldn't fellowship with nobody because ceremonially, religiously, she was unclean. So she had to have a private praise because she couldn't do what David said when he said, let us exalt his name together. Well, I can't exalt you. I can't high five you because if I touch you, then I'm ceremonially unclean. Imagine. You get beat up in the world. You get beat up at home. You get beat down at the job. And now the only place you go for any kind of solace is the church. And when you get there, there's a do not enter sign with only your name on it. She couldn't get in the temple. So this lady, despite suffering physically, despite suffering medically, despite suffering socially, despite suffering emotionally, despite suffering religiously, in spite of all that, and in spite of being depressed, and in spite of sometimes being discouraged, yet this woman had one thing. She had this thing called desire. I want to highlight two things in part 2, and then we'll let you go because that food smelling good. Everybody mind. Ain't nobody think about Jesus. Everybody think about chicken. So I got sense enough to know y'all ain't going to listen to me too long. So I'm going to hurry up because y'all thinking about food. Highlight two things. First of all, the text says in verse 27, Ajira, first of all, it highlights the witness that she heard. I'm right there in verse 27. Look what it said. When she had heard of Jesus. She didn't know him, but it said, William, when she had heard about Jesus. Now, let me park parenthetically right here. Her desire came about because somebody else's duty and devotion was carried out. Y'all missed it. If somebody had not been talking about Jesus, this woman would not have known that there's a doctor in town, that he has a cure for me. If somebody had not been talking about somewhere, this poor woman heard something about Jesus. Maybe she heard about Jesus cleansing the leper. I don't know, Lisa, but the text said she heard about it. Maybe she heard about Jesus healing Peter's mother-in-law without giving her a Tylenol, Advil, or Bufferin. Maybe she heard about that. Maybe she heard that Jesus healed somebody else was sick at eventide. Maybe she heard about Jesus when he calmed an angry sea, when he looked at the wind and he spoke to the waves and said, "Peace, be still." And she heard that the wind and the waves laid down like a cowardly dog. Maybe she heard about Jesus breaking up the Chitlin circuit because somebody told her that the demons that was in the man, Jesus somehow transferred them in the hogs. And they ran Jesus out of town because they had a sausage and rib shortage, and Jesus was not good for their investment. Maybe she heard about Jesus healing another paralytic. Maybe she heard about Jesus healing 2 blind men. Maybe she heard about Jesus casting out legion from the boy that was cutting on himself in the cemetery. Maybe she heard about Jesus healing the withered man's hand on the wrong day. Maybe she heard about Jesus curing the dumb and another blind man. Maybe she heard about Jesus opening up Fish Express because he took 2 fish, 5 loaves of bread, and fed 5,000 hungry souls. Maybe she heard about him taking 7 loaves and then feeding 4,000. Maybe that she heard Jesus use the sea for a treadmill when he walked 3.5 miles on water to get to the disciples. Maybe she heard about the Syrophoenician woman's daughter that Jesus healed. Maybe she heard that Jesus healed the epileptic boy that was foaming at the mouth. Maybe she heard about Jesus not evading taxes, Mr. Trump, and Jesus went and told Peter to go, and I need you to pay because we need to follow the law because I was born under the law, so tax time is due. So Peter, what I need you to do, you know I ain't got no money on me because my robe don't have no pockets, but we're going to pay the taxes, Peter. But what I need you to do is don't go to the bank. I need you to go to get to Lowe's and get a fishing pole, and I need you to go down to the lake, and I need you to reel your reel out, and the first fish you catch, I need you to pull it in, Peter, and don't worry, open his mouth and you'll see some money in it, and then pay the taxes for me and you. Jesus was not a tax evader. Jesus would show you his statement. Oh yeah, Jesus will show you his taxes. Maybe, Reverend, she heard about Jesus cursing a fig tree and made it wither. You remember Jesus coming into Jerusalem, and Jesus, now remember, he was all God and all man, and the man side was kind of hungry. He may have been the bread of life on his daddy's side, but on his mama's side, his stomach growled like me and yours. Jesus went to the fig tree, and the fig tree should have been producing, and Jesus got upset because wasn't nothing on it, and he said, nothing will ever again grow on you. What am I saying? Jesus said, no, I'm in expecting demand. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. I'm expecting something. Jesus said, by now you should have some fruit on you. You should be blessing somebody else. By now you should be doing this. You should be blessing somebody. You shouldn't be taking from somebody. And because you ain't producing what you should be producing, he said, cursed are you. And the fig tree just fizzled like the Detroit Lions. Just Maybe she heard about Jesus when he went to Nain, Delbert, and he turned a funeral procession into a family reunion. And let me help somebody there, because remember now, God will do some things that you don't think he'll do. You remember that the boy was in the casket. The boy had died, and back then, if you were a lady and you were on your own, you were really in trouble. You had to depend upon your husband or your son to do everything, because the only profession really that a woman can do back then to make money was to sell. You know what I'm saying? So Jesus, the woman didn't even ask him. Jesus saw this funeral procession coming through Nain, and Jesus looked at the woman, and the woman was crying. Jesus saw she has no resources. She has no protector, nobody to take care of her. So Jesus didn't even ask her. Jesus simply went and touched the casket, and the boy jumped up. Let me tell you, listen, Jesus may not touch you, but he loves you enough to touch the stuff that's holding you. And when the stuff that's holding you, here's Jesus' hand, it has to let you go. Perhaps she heard that Jesus touched the casket. Maybe she heard, Kim, about Jesus turning water into Boone's Farm, Strawberry Hill. I'm going back. Yeah, apparently y'all know what that is. Maybe she heard about Jesus straightening out this woman. The text in Luke 13 said this woman was bent over for 13 years, and Jesus came to get the bend out of her back. If you really want to straighten up, you need Jesus to touch you. You stop running from man to woman to... Perhaps she heard of Jesus healing a man at the pool of Bethesda that had been laying down for 38 years. And then Jesus asked him a question. Jesus said, do you want to be whole? John 5. And the man said, Lord, I have nobody to preach. I ain't asked you that. See, that's just like us. You ask us where we been, we tell you where we going. Answer the question. Do you want to be made whole? Well, see, God, I ain't got nobody to put me in. But see, that's why you've been crippled 38 years. You ain't been paying attention. And the reason some of us spiritually crippled for 38 years, you ain't been paying attention. You ain't even heard the question. Jesus said, rise, take up your bed and walk. Why did he tell him to take up his bed? Now, the man used to be carried on the bed. And what Jesus is telling you, I can turn this thing around where you can now carry what formerly been carrying you if you just ride. Perhaps she heard that Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. I don't know. The text said when she had heard of Jesus. See, somebody here needs to start talking about Jesus. But I know us. I've been in church all my life. What do? We go home. Oh, you should have seen the pastor today. Oh, he was tripping. You should have seen this wife. You should have seen the one in the... Oh, that usher didn't have a... You should have seen that hat didn't match them shoes. You should have said... Stop talking about mess and tell somebody about Jesus. Nobody want to hear about who going with who. What folk had on, that's the word. That's why some folk won't come into church now. They come into church and church folk run them out. But our holy and sedate is looking them up and down as if you clean. That stuff they got on don't match. I got news flash, honey. You better go find the nearest mirror. Reverend Jackson, what I'm saying is somebody needs to start talking about Jesus. Somebody needs to know he's a friend to the friendless. Somebody needs to know he'll be a mother for the motherless. Somebody needs to know he'll be a father to the fatherless. Somebody needs to know he's a friend that'll stick closer than a brother. Somebody needs to know he's a bridge over troubled water. Somebody needs to know he's a high tower in the midst of a storm. Somebody needs to know he's a burden bearer. Somebody needs to know he's a heavy load sharer. Somebody needs to know he's a midnight rider. Somebody needs to know he's a lawyer in the courtroom. Somebody needs to know he's a doctor in the sick room. Somebody needs to know that he's sweeter than honey. He's mightier than a mountain. He's purer than air. He's clear than crystal. Somebody needs to know tape can't measure him. Water can't drown him. Fire can't burn him. Death can't kill him. Somebody need to know he woke you up this morning. Somebody need to know he watched over you last night. Somebody need to know he put food food on your table, clothes on your back, a roof over your head. Somebody needs to hear about Jesus. Stop telling them about junk. We worse than sinners. God healed somebody. God delivered somebody. Somebody got off of drugs. A family has gotten back together. And we go home and start talking about, you can't believe them jokers. When they got to me, they didn't have no more chicken. Serious? See, the pastor and them was in a different room, and they had some special food. Like, who they think they, listen, it's because of me you eating today free. Let's just get that out. You ain't brought penny to the plate and talking about what we ran out of. And guess why we ran out of it? Because of your lack of tithing. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Let's tell folk about Jesus. I saw the power of God move today. God healed somebody. I saw somebody's head go straight. I saw somebody get lifted in the God. I saw burdens lifted. Start telling them about Jesus. Stop. Because the majority of stuff church folk tell is lies. And church folk got to know the nerve to talk about Donald Trump, all he do is lie. Well, guess what you do? You do the same thing. You Kellyanne Conway too. You just don't look like the crypt keeper. Pray for me, Reverend. I don't know what she heard, but one thing I do know. Whatever she heard about him, it created a desire. Whatever she heard, it created a craving. It caused a thirst. It created a hunger. This lady said, wait a minute, I've been hearing too many good things about this one. I don't know this fella, but I've been hearing too many things about him. And they told me he's accepting new patients. So they told me. She said, I sure need somebody, because see, I got a pre-existing condition. I don't care if you call it Affordable Care, Obamacare, Kentucky Connect. I need to get to him. She said, I want to touch his person. I don't want his policy. Let me ask you something. Is your witness, is your words and your works, is it creating anything? Or are you not opening up your mouth? And when you do open it, are you opening it with garbage? This lady had been bleeding 4,380 days. She could care less who was going with who. She could care less what the choir sang. She could care less if they ran out of chicken. This lady said, I need help. And I keep hearing about a man that won't turn nobody away. The Bible said we are the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Let me ask you something. Who considers themselves to be salt? Raise your hand. This ain't a trick question. Oh, y'all think I'm... So the rest of y'all don't consider yourself be salt. So y'all just... I'm going to leave like I did yesterday. Here, finish this. If you, for those who raised their hands, for the other ones who thought I was tricking, I wasn't tricking you, baby. For those who raised their hands, if you are salt, when the last time you made somebody thirsty? Because that's what salt do. It seasons. When the last time you seasoned anything other than your meat? It preserves. When the last time You preserved anything. I ain't talking about jam preserves. Because Grandson did that. I'm talking about salt actually irritates you. When the last time? Oh, I shouldn't ask you that. Because there's a good irritation and a bad one. And we probably got more bad ones in here than good. He said, you're the light of the world. What does light do? Light give direction. When the last time you got somebody on the right track? And if you got them on the right track, did they have to get off the one you own? Whatever this lady heard, she heard it. So what am I saying? This lady would have never been healed of her hemorrhage if somebody hadn't have been lifting Jesus. And sadly, we come to church Sunday after Sunday. We leave here, we talk about the preacher, the van, the pulpit, the mic, the everything, and people starve and saying, well, what about? Secondly, I'm almost done. Not only the witness she heard in verse 27, but verse 28, look at the will she had. She said, if I may but touch his clothes, I shall be whole. She don't know him. She just heard of him. Regardless of where and what she heard about him, she knew, I got to get to him. I got to get to him. We let too much stuff stop us from getting to him. Pastor, you know, I would have came, I ain't got no ride. Now, the crack house on the other side of town, and you get there every day. I see you at the number house. They still have in Battle Creek. I know where they are. My members showed me. How you get to the number house with no? What's wrong with these? It's a foot. And you put two of them together and you got feet. And it's amazing if you put one in front of the other, what happened? Motion. My brother Tony and I came up, we walked everywhere. Mama, what? We're going to look. Now, we healthy, 13, 14-year-old boys, we're going to ask Mama, can you take me somewhere? They'd have beat us with a telephone pole. What's wrong with your feet? They made for walking. Kids so lazy now, take trash out. Well, can you drive me? The driveway kind of long. Yeah, I'm a driver, I tell you what. But what I need you to do now, son, is go lay down in the driveway. And stay there till you feel some rubber. No, y'all know we'll let anything stop her. Reverend, nobody. She knew she had to get to him. I had a grown man, Reverend, right there on that, right there. Grown man told me he did not get a job. He did not make it to the interview because his mother didn't wake him up. He in his 40s. His mother didn't call him to wake him up. And if I could have whooped him, I would have. I ain't going to start no fight. I can't whip. I ain't stupid. The job is there. My mama didn't wake me up. Are you serious? The job is there, but the white man stopped me. Well, which one? Which white man? Because I know black young men that have jobs, and they didn't stop us. So why'd they stop you? Well, see, if I go to work, only thing they're going to do, Reverend, is they're going to take my child support. And now, see, automatically, our minds just went to what some people consider no lives, low lives, and no lives. No. Nicole and I know a medical doctor who quit practicing because he didn't want to pay child support. So professional people too. This ain't just Leroy and Tom Tom. You know, but she had come to realize that Jesus was her only hope. And sometime you won't know what and who Jesus is until he's all you got. Because see, right now you got too much other stuff. Right now you got intellect. Right now you got money. Right now you got connections. Right now you got this. Right now you got that. And Jesus would chop some of that away so you would know, okay. So now you got an ache in your body, and now your club can't get it out of you. Now you got an ache in your body and your money can't get it out of you. Now you understand I'm the only thing you got, because as long as you can do it without Jesus, he will let you. Remember in part one, this woman tried everything and everybody. She believed with all her heart that if she could just get to Jesus, she'll be healed. And ain't it just like us? After she done spent all, she decided, I better try Jesus. After we done tried weed, reefer, skunk dope, liquor, sex, drugs, rock and roll, everything, and then we dried up. I think I'll try Jesus. But the good thing about it is he had taken your dried up self and put him spirit in you, and all that dryness would leave and you would look brand new. And he said, baby, I was right here all the time. You didn't have to go through rehab to get redemption. Then we be lying on God. Well, you know, I had to go through that drinking to get the Lord. No, you didn't. He allowed you didn't have to go through liquor to get to Jesus. No. She displayed her determination to get to Jesus by approaching him in that crowd. This lady, remember now, look at her determination and desire. She weak, she pale, she ain't got no strength, she ain't got no boost, but she's elbowing through the crowd. She's crawling, she's elbowing with all she got. She's kicking and she's getting kicked. Her hands getting stepped down. She's crawling. She's squirming through the people. She was causing ceremonial defilement for everybody she touched. But let me tell you something. Once you hurt, and you hurt long enough, and you hurt too long, you don't care about protocol. You don't care about rules. You don't care about who you offending. You don't care where you ain't supposed to be. This poor woman was taking a great risk. If she had been recognized, she would have been subjected to public humiliation and ridicule. Now, how you going to ridicule? How you going to hurt my feelings? I've been bleeding through it. You think I care about you? A crowd like that may have gotten worked up and beat her or stoned her to death. But for this woman, she said, it's a risk worth taking. Watch this. She had to be determined because the very nature of the disease would have taken all her energy. And she had to drag herself out of bed to struggle through that massive crowd. You know what someone would have said? I asked too many people. I'll never get there. I just keep bleeding. I never get there. It ain't going to work through here. You know, they all in front of me because I'm black. I can't, they building a wall in front of me. And ain't no need, Rev. I'll try it tomorrow. I ain't got to ride. Won't nobody put me on their shoulders. They can't. You got an issue. She struggled out of bed to get to the Savior. And we get a toenail. Reverend, you know I won't be at church today. I think I might be coming down with a cold. She drug herself out of bed to get to this man that she don't know. And you claim to know him. She was desperate, and her desperation led to her determination. See, you ain't desperate enough. That you too comfortable with nothing, and that's why you have nothing. And again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you got to have something to roll with me, but I'm saying you got to want something to roll with me. If you don't want nothing, I'm the wrong one to be with. Do I think I'm better than you? No, but I'm going that way for something. Now, you want to be broke and live in Sanford and Son Arms? You can. I ain't Lamont. So I'm not opposed to not having nothing. That's okay. I'm opposed to folk who don't want nothing. That's a problem. This lady wanted something. She was desperate. And her desperation led to her determination. Have you ever reached that point in life yet? Where you come to understand that Jesus is the only hope for you? I ain't talking about religion, because if you try that, you're going to be in trouble. I'm talking about Jesus. I ain't talking about being Baptist. I'm talking about Jesus. I know that I'm speaking to somebody here this morning. I just don't know who. I ain't one of them prophets. Somebody, yeah, you in the left corner with a purple shirt on. I don't know. That's hogwash. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I know I'm talking to somebody. I know that. I don't know what your issue or issues are. I don't know what you have. But I do have a suggestion on what to do with those issues. I don't want to know your issues. Don't Facebook them. Don't do that. I can tell you what you need to do to them. I suggest that you get determined. I suggest that you get desperate enough to take a risk. I suggest that if you have to, crawl to Jesus. I suggest if you have to, squirm. If you have to, wiggle. If you have to, get scratches and bruises. If you have to, your reputation may be tarnished. Somebody may say, there they go going up again. Watch them, y'all. Look, I don't care what they do, but my thing, baby, make sure you don't stop until you get to Jesus. Let them step on your hand. Make sure you get to Jesus. Let them scandalize your name. Make sure you get to Jesus, because when you get to Jesus, he's got healings in his way. When you get to Jesus, he's got compassion for you. He's got love for you. He loved you so much he died for you, but he didn't stay dead. He rose again from the dead. He's got resurrection power for you. He's got redemptive power. He's got grace for you. He's got healing for you. He's got joy for you. He's got peace for you. He's got comfort for you. Make sure you don't stop until you get to Jesus. And they looked at me funny. No, they ain't. That's the way their eyes are. They cocked or twisted or something. They're not looking funny. They're looking regular. You got to go, yeah, you got to talk to him. You got to go around the car. I got to stand on Manchester to look at you. Door of God's church open. For y'all who don't know Manchester over there.